Well, the fox went out on a chilly night, prayed to the moon to give him light, for in many a mile to go that night before he reached the town, oh, town, oh, town, oh, many a mile to go that night before he reached the town, oh. He ran till he came to a great big pen, and the ducks and the geese were kept therein. Said, a couple of you are gonna grease my chin before I leave this town, oh, town, oh, town, oh. A couple of you are gonna grease my chin before I leave this town, oh. Then he grabbed the grey goose by the neck, he threw the duck across his back, and he didn't mind the quack, 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 and the legs all dangling down, oh, down, oh, down, oh. He didn't mind the quack, 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 and the legs all dangling down, oh. Old Mother Flipper Flopper jumped out of bed, out of the window she cocked her head, crying, John, John, the grey goose is gone, and the fox is on the town, oh, town, oh, town, oh. John, John, the grey goose is gone, and the fox is on the town, oh. Johnny ran to the top of the hill, he blew his horn both loud and shrill. The fox, he said, I better flee with my kill, or they'll soon be on my trail, oh, trail, oh, trail, oh. The fox, he said, I better flee with my kill, or they'll soon be on my trail, oh. And he ran till he came to his cozy den. There were the little ones, 8, 9, 10, said, Daddy, Dad, I better go back again, for it must be a mighty fine town, oh, town, oh, town. Go back again, for it must be a mighty fine town, oh. Then the fox and his wife, without any strife, cut up the goose with a fork and a knife. They never had such a supper in their life, and the little ones chewed on the bones, oh, bones, oh, bones, oh. They never had such a supper in their life, and the little ones chewed on the bones, oh. Monuments cast in long crumbled molds, they tower above with the hatreds of old. Metal that withstood erosion and age needs to fall now to answer our rage. The statues were cast in the flames of dark hate when dragons still ravaged our lands. It reminds of a past we must reformulate, so grab up the rope, hold it tight in your hands. We'll pull down the statues that stalk through our dreams, delivering nightmares and continent screams. We hide till the dawn to hold through the night. So join with us, brother, in our holy fight. Smash down the statues that hunt for our flesh. Bring down the hammer, our quest has been blessed by wizened albinos that rule from their homes in mansions with walls of impassable stone. What do we want? Book burnings to answer our yearnings. The past must be cleansed and never forget. Our final regret was none of us ever had any real friends. So move now, my comrades, my partners in crime. Although we are weak, by mobbing we'll find we number enough, we can force them to see what power can come from a master's degree. Smash down the statues that hunt for our flesh. Bring down the hammer, our quest has been blessed by wizened albinos that rule from their homes in mansions with walls of impassable stone. 2468 will have no debate. This matter too dear to come to a vote. To fight for our rights we come in the night, to sever their heads from their evil bronze throats. Smash down the statues that hunt for our flesh. Bring down the hammer, our quest has been blessed by wizened albinos that rule from their homes in mansions with walls of impassable stone. In mansions with walls of impassable stone. In mansions with walls of impassable stone. Yeah. In 1893, Hawaii had a democracy, but we fixed that, overthrew the Queen, so we'd have place to grow coffee beans. Join hands with me and sing along the words to our people's imperial song. A paradise we took for free to instate the plantaritocracy. So get on the board and come on by, see the apple of the Pentagon's eye. 11 bases, 15 billion a year, that will keep us safe, my dear. So mahalo aleichem, aloha salam, come and tell me when the party's on. If you're a bit chubby, well don't you frown. Our most famous singer weighs 600 pounds. So before the sea rises and brings its doom and traps us in this ashy tomb, take a jet plane here, go for a whirl, see the last green grass of a dying world. So mahalo akbar, you know it's haram to skip the luau on a Ramadan, as Kamehameha himself used to say. You gotta jihad the aloha way. Mahalo akbar, you know it's haram to skip the luau on a Ramadan, as Kamehameha himself used to say. You gotta jihad the aloha way. You gotta jihad the aloha way. You gotta jihad, you gotta jihad, you gotta jihad the aloha way. When I was quite young and old songs could be sung, they told us how we used to brave the harsh light. But we had to run to hide from the sun, for our hubris had earned us this pit-dwelling blight. And our leaders were learned in all the old rites. When they gathered to leave, we prayed that they might bring us back news from the world of outside. Untrained and unguided, our folk had to hide. Our minders would smile, heads up with pride, as they put on their blinders, one on each side, to block and to shade them from frightening rays, to bring us back stories to lighten our days. In the cavern we'd sit, young to the old, after hours in the pit, breathing in mold, for the ore that they'd break from the load, which was packed by our minders in crates, which then rode up a lift through a shaft dug deep in the past, up to the surface, pitted and blasted, where slobbering mutants would take up their prize, a deal we must hold with the folk we despise. This bargain was struck many decades ago, when I was a babe in a crib. These bandits had threatened our city below if we had nothing precious to give. Our protectors then earned their glorious place, taking the burden so we could stay free. Since then they protected and herded our race, and give shows on the wall of the cavern to see. The things from outside they project from a light that beams from a channel bored out up high. Shadows from puppets darker than night dance on the wall, and we learn what and why happens out there, and why the gods act as perpetual scholars. The minders know facts like the size of the earth, 30 miles by 9. How you judge a man's worth by reading his mind. And we drink of the tea steeped by our guards to protect us from fiends like the moon and the stars. I know that the minders are folk just like me, and I wonder what sights sit under the sky. Just once for myself to help me believe, to be sure of the what and to know all the why. So I'll wait till the shadow show's finished, strap moss to my feet and dull my footfall, and then late with light fully diminished and a ration of meat, I'll climb up that wall. Well, I know that the minders wouldn't tell lies, and I don't want to burn in the glare. Though I go without blinders to shade my weak eyes, I'm sure they won't put out in one second stair. So up I ascend into the old land. My friend, I'll return to you soon. I'll tell tales of the waste and hold in my hand a piece that I'll tear from that devilish moon. Who is like God, who treads on the sod and pushes the plow like a serf? And how do you know the seeds that you grow as you scratch for a place on this earth? The cards that he grips with a smile on his lips as you ponder your ponderous plays. Games won one by one until evening has come. There's no time, as you heard the man say. And who is like God, who worries and plods but pushes ahead through the dark? Because others need help and he still has his health, and at times life still feels like a lark. You watch his hand stretch halfway down the neck as he strums. Oh, you wonder and hear each note meet the next as pulled from the frets, tied to a heartbeat and played just as clear. And who is like God, who smiles and nods as his friends gather round him and say, you bind us like glue, and we wish that you could come back and talk to us every day. Pupils and peers gather to hear as he speaks to the crowd from his chair. Scruples held dear can conquer our fear. Music is needed as much as air. And who is like God, or a bean in your pod, who listens and knows that you care? And he wonders how you write the words that you do, but you both know who helped you prepare. And who is like God, who treads on the sod and pushes the plow like a serf? And how do you know the seeds that you grow as you scratch for a place on this earth? He came from the uplands on a misty day. He said that he came to deliver us from the dark animal gods that had led us astray by demanding the gift of an innocent's blood. Ride to the south, our just king, and carry your banner proudly. On your return we will sing to greet your triumph loudly. He carried the light and remembered the word, but respected the rule of the rod from up high, until one dark day his faith was disturbed, though given his orders he could not fathom why. The priest of the rod said a town was enthralled by our most evil, craven, and treacherous foe. Though the hero sent missives and attempted to stall, he was ordered to raise the town much to his woe. Though his faith was quite strong, his devotion was true, the hero could not carry his orders through. So he laid down his arms and prayed in retreat, living off nothing but water for weeks, until he emerged to bring truth and hope. And he mounted his horse and rode off to the Pope. Ride to the south, our our just king, and carry your banner proudly. On your return we will sing to greet your triumph loudly. He rode till he came to the high papal keep, and barged into the rooms of the Pope fast asleep. Grabbed rod, frock, and crown, threw them down at his feet, where he shattered their power to cower the weak. He rode back to the uplands on a misty day, having rescued the light from its keepers infirm, to tell folk how to live, or to think, or to pray. A king lives to serve, respect must be earned. Ride to the south, our just king, and carry your banner proudly. On your return we must sing to greet your triumph loudly. Carmela was sweet and pale as the petals of flowers that bloom under light of the moon. She knew poetry and songs and dances and riddles, but felt cursed with the weight of an impending doom. Because she had seen the way others were treated, the plain-looking girls and most of the boys, they were challenged and bullied and crushed and defeated. But Carmela got nothing but affection and toys. She knew that she had to evade this dark fate of being treated like a most precious object. She knew to escape before it was too late. The shape of her future was hers to protect. So she got some black ink and a few safety pins before she could rethink. She stabbed through her skin after only an hour, though the pain made her cry. She had etched in the outline of a crude butterfly. When her folks saw her arm, they were stunned and confused. They thought that they must be to blame, but their pleas went unanswered, their help was refused. For she sought to start living without beauty and shame. Baggy clothes and short hair and a new way of talking, drop eyes from their unconscious search. Less polite manners, a swagger when walking, all can be managed if you rehearse. But she'd wonder sometimes, was she losing herself? Was she forcing a change for a shot at fair terms? But she wanted meaning, not comfort and wealth. So she had just one shot and her ambition burned. Carmela got glimpses of what she surrendered in the lives that her female friends led. Babies by 30, puffy and tender, husbands that worked to keep them overfed. The passing of time seemed unkind to her friends. They told her that something had changed. Special patients and treatments had come to an end. Strangers were acting distressingly strange. But Carmela didn't notice too much of a change. Turtlenecked with a stately mustache, her dealings with peers, old and new, stayed the same. If she needed assistance, she just had to ask. As an elder, Carmela would often reflect on a life so impactful and strange. She chose her own terms to accept or reject, a grizzled old witch, not a porcelain dame. Because most flowers bloom for just a few days, while rootstocks and thorns make longer stays. So hours spent learning and building our mind can provide for those folk fate or chance leave behind. Carmela never mourned for the life she had led, or felt that her work was a waste. She'd work to propel her whole people ahead, and focused much less on having the prettiest. darkest face. A girl with eyes of crystal balls and hair of the darkest mystique, grins with violet painted lips, approaches me and speaks. She shares her name as I do mine, with gestures plain and sweet, then tells me she's a Capricorn. I ask her what that means. With your birth date and sign, the stars in the skies reveal answers clear as the day. Cosmic creations and sound explanations give reason for how so much longer. In fact, reoccurring to hacks throughout time. When you know that some parts of our lives do not change despite the laws of the land or the year, it might help you decide when you try to arrange to act with a purpose, not react in fear. So burn not our books, leave the scrolls in their racks, even knowing their contents obscene. Iron that you look and control your attacks, heaving glowing coals on people's hard work and dreams. Listen now, people, to you I must plead. Ignore primal fears, please think of our needs. And we'll try to retire and we'll go home instead, building better desires from the words you have read. And then we'll retire and discuss while we're fed, using coals to cook beans and not books. If what you hate are the words that are scratched by the reed, then you still have an option of keys. Don't censor or burn one lone madman's creed, or his legend and fame will increase. If instead you can answer his scrawlings in turn and produce some more reasoned retort, then people will listen and your ideas will have earned their place in the schools and the courts. Well, ideas are born well before the men they impel to destroy or refine what they see. So with me, poor Orwell, abhor the men who compel you to be as they want you to be. In your readings you may learn of people who claim to hold ethics and virtues most just, but they then needed neither to rob and to maim. They said that to be just we must do as we must. So burn not our books, leave the scrolls in their racks, even knowing their contents obscene. Iron that you look and control your attacks, heaving glowing coals on a dead poet's dreams. Please drop your torch and just lend me your ear. I'm armed but with words, you have nothing to fear. Please work to inspire better thinking instead, building better desires from the words you have read. And when you retire and lay in your deathbed, well, you'll have no regrets in the end. When he was a toddling lad, he thought a cactus a toy. When he reached out and grabbed in his hand, it was stabbed, dread terror replacing his joy. But he'd done of his own free will, he chose of his own free will. When he was tall as a suckling goat, around the cook fire he ran. When his foot twisted down and he fell to the ground, and he burned up and mangled his hand. But he ran of his own free will, he chose of his own free will. Scarce had the feeling returned to his fingers, though mighty a scar did remain. A smooth man sold him balm that would soothe and would calm, but instead caused more damage and pain. But he bought of his own free will, he chose of his own free will. His parents were through with this burdensome boy and sent him to work on a farm, to haul chaff and split logs and feed orange rinds to hogs and keep himself distant from harm. While other boys learned how to add or to spell, the boy toiled and labored all day, learning nothing of books or how wider worlds look. Folks shook their heads and did say he stayed dumb of his own free will. He's dumb of his own free will. When the boy was of age, the farm sent him away to work at a shop for a trade. But no foreman would have an illiterate scab except a strange man with a spade. He went of his own free will, he chose of his own free will. That night the boy found what the man did for work, crossing through field, turf and hedge, digging up graves for the riches they gave, and the dead couldn't mind they were dead. The next night things went wrong for the boy and the man, sneaking in through the churchyard. Townsmen lay in wait just beyond the back gate and set on them both and quite hard. They stole of their own free will, they were thieves of their own free will. The great hall the next day saw them stand to be judged, not a word said in either's defense. When the judge stood and cried, evil men all must die for such crimes, death is your recompense. You sinned of your own free will, you chose evil of your own free will. Determined to win some cash from all and pawn you and free us from this hellish life of 12-hour shifts and overnights. These young boys that I'm walking with have no experience, they've got no grit. There's nothing keeping them ahead of me. It's a long and it'll be a long time till we meet again. And until then, just remember what I said. It's a long, long walk, and it'll be the longer without you. And remember that I think of you every hour of every day. Guys from across the states, and it's brought me to appreciate the mix of circumstances that brought us here today. Well, the one thing that I notice is most of them, well, they're just kids. They're about to figure out what a mistake they've made, 'cause it's a long, long walk, and it'll be a long time till I can stop, but until then I'll keep marching home to you. Oh, it's a long, long walk, and it'll be the longer without you. And remember that I think of you every minute of every day. Well, I've heard old Pa talk death before when he was burning out traitors in the Major's War. Well, it's one thing to be told a tale and the other to watch them boys that fell. The wardens without grief or doubt give just 3 strikes and then they're out and drag their bleeding corpses off the road. It's a long, long walk and it's getting hard, but I'm still on the way. I'm a man who means the things I say. I'm coming home to you, and it's a long, long walk, and it'll be the longer without you. And remember that I think of you every goddamn second of every day. In a time of far antiquities, the first wizard laid a plan. A game of creativity soon spread throughout the land, of noble knights and hoary shades, of goblin spells and rings, wars to fight for glory made as far as one could think. Build a world inside a deck, no kingdom of your own. To meet with others you respect, a safer place than home. But this game had many moving parts that had to be maintained, and the caretakers with greedy hearts dreamt of riches to be gained. Machines re-geared to print more cards to meet increased demand. Unceasing commands to remand older standards of commanders who could not command. So with cardstock of tissue and clarity issue, spells fizzled and walls turned to dust. Shamans and sages lapsed into rages, he sizzled, sickles and swords turned to rust. But these were just wizards playing a card game. Who cares if they suffer or fail? Why should they have a space to feel trusted and safe? You can make much more money selling straight through the mail. So let's drive to the Southlands and play in the Great Hall. For the decade those venues survive, until they're deprived of what they need to thrive. Wizards' towers to empower larger halls to serve all. 'Cause magic is not a thing one person owns, or a company, corporate or small. The first wizard denied a crown or a throne. He must know what he did for the better of all. So please, when you work on your quarterly plans, plotting your growth across time, more than just customers, more than just fans. People's well-being and sanity are on the line. People like to pontificate and love to tell me that the moon's a false projection and the world is really flat. Things can't just be good or bad, there's no real way to know. And to say you have an answer is to let your privilege show. Well, the laws of physics stay the same, regardless how we feel. I hope you and I at least can cry, reality is real. Reality is real, reality is real. The stars in the sky are burning gaseous spheres. Math works alright and physics makes it clear that reality is basically real. Sometimes I almost lose my mind when someone tells me that it might be true for me, but for them there are different facts. Because they want it to be that way, well that way then it is. So let's repeat the same old horseshit that was fed to us as kids. Well, our behavior has to change regardless how we feel. I hope you can take a stand and present a strong appeal that reality is real. Reality is real, reality is real. The stars in the sky are burning gaseous spheres. Math works alright and physics makes it clear that reality is basically real. A complex place, there's many questions left to ask. How God or Krishna made us and for what spiritual task? How can we know what came before if none of us were there? We must trust revealed knowledge from a God who truly cares enough to lead our lives with threats of hell inside our heads. Well, I hope that you dodge that trap and come to see instead that reality is real. Reality is real, reality is real. The stars in the sky are burning gaseous spheres. Math works alright and physics makes it clear that reality is practically real. Perhaps you've come across folks who think you can read the stars, or learn about the future with the shuffling of cards, or speak to ancient life forms in amethyst or jade, or let spinal sublimation cure the problems that you've made for your body by not harnessing the boundless flow of ki. Well, I must insist you prove all this before giving up my plea that reality is real. By slavers to be bathed in a plan to cause innocence doom. But the child was cunning and resented the scheme, and prayed to the cosmos who spoke in his dreams, told him how to be free and cause his captors doom by breaking the airlocks in each of their rooms. And he hid in the bridge while they decompressed, and left with the travelers that he'd freed from duress. And he soared between comets and planetoids, hurtling through the vacuum of space. He united world governments no matter how paranoid, and provided a future for every sapient race. Thousands of star systems freed by his deeds. By the time he was only 15, he listened to people and cared for their needs, if they were fleshy like him or sentient steam. But every new alien, no matter how odd, held this belief despite creed or God. Time was moving too fast with still too much to do. If things kept drifting apart, well then it had to be argued. Space would expand until things went cold. Any option to stop it would be desperate and bold. And he soared between comets and planetoids, hurtling through the vacuum of space. space. He united world governments, no matter how paranoid, and provided a future for every sapient race. So the hero recalled his new friends and old allies in order galactic like never before. Planets and space stations all to be utilized to master reality, stop death at the door. We build the machine the size of a star. All scientists gather, no journey too far. The tasks are complete and we await the machine to bring us oblivion or our eternal dreams. And the hero that gave us the dream and the choice and risk, we accepted all with one voice. And he soared between comets and planetoids, hurtling through the vacuum of space. He united world governments, no matter how paranoid, and provided a future for every sapient both promised we'd wait, while I worked the mines of Perseus 8. As I watched another worker get flayed and dismembered, much to my dismay, that's when I remembered near light speed travel expands local space-time. So 1 year for me is 12 years for you. By the time I'd return to feel the earth's sunshine, you'd be just 2 months shy of 72. I know that you've already realized this. We were both quite young and dim, but I'm mining this plasma and clenching my fist to distract from the mold colonizing my skin. I have less than a quarter of my own DNA. I'm more protozoa than man, and I'm on break from mining, and I had to say, I have to assume this is going according to plan. I feel quite the fool as I left in your name any credit I'd saved, if I live not to claim the pension I'd earned from the toil and grind of fighting off cave bats that feed on the mind, and digging for ore that howls in the gloom. As you carry it back, it whispers and hums, tells you dark tales of mayhem and conquest and doom. But you grow accustomed as you go numb. I know that you've already realized this. I should have read the fine print, but I'm hauling this ore and I'm clenching my fists as tendrils of slime drip down my chin. Bombarded by particles exotic and rare, I've become much more mushroom than man. I complained to the foreman, but he didn't care. I have to assume this is going according to plan. Enjoy the fruits of my labor without any shame. My hands have no fingers, I could point at you. Still I wish I had not put the accounts in both names. Is a thought that still lingers as I disown.